and today I'm answering a question that I received as a comment under one of my videos, and they mentioned that, Melissa, when you're doing good, you're doing really, really good. However, they were really curious to know what makes me deviate from this lifestyle. What, things help me not live my ideal, because honestly 100% raw food 100% of the time is my ideal. That is where I feel my best. That is what I strive for every single day, and it has been a process and a journey, and one that I'm continuing every single day. So to answer your question, a big part right now is, for me, working third shift is really difficult to get my schedule right. So I would say that I don't eat enough. Number one, the cravings will set in. Not that I really give in. Most of the time I don't. However, things that help me stray, or things that encourage me to stray, or really mess with my mind and encourage me to stray, I would say number one is not eating enough. Definitely not eating enough. It just makes you crave things. Like when you're super full and you see like a Red Lobster commercial, you really, for me personally, that does not look good to me if I'm really, really full. However, if I'm super, super hungry, some of those things look good to me, even though I know that's not my ideal and that's not anything that I have interest in eating whatsoever. Number two, I would say lack of sleep. For me, working third shift, this lifestyle, I have to eat enough. Back to number one. If I don't sleep enough, which I don't, I'm working third shift, so I'm trying to find a balance for sure. For me, it's like, do I eat at night to sustain energy to get through my shift that's super busy, I'm on my feet a lot, or do I try to stick to not eating at night, so that way when I have a day off, I'm not eating at night, you know, when I'm at home with the day off. So it's just trying to find a balance for my schedule for work, and I'm definitely have plans to work on that, because working third shift is definitely not conducive to this lifestyle for me personally, because I do feel like I need something at night. However, my body gets kind of confused and it doesn't know what to do, so it definitely is counterproductive to work a third shift and try to live this lifestyle. For the longest time, I would do smoothies at night. Sometimes I would eat at night and then come home and not be hungry and not really sleep. It just all depends on the day, but there's times where I wouldn't eat at night and then come home and eat during the day, and it really messes up my metabolism. It really has messed up my metabolism, not being consistent in timing for food. So that is something that I consistently am trying to work on, is just being consistent. And it's really difficult for me being third shift. I find that I'm not eating enough, and I'm not losing weight as fast, even though it's calorie restriction, not on purpose. My body's definitely holding on to weight more than it would be if I gave it more calories, more nutrients, because sometimes I will try to get sleep off and on during the day, so I won't eat a lot, and then I may only bring a smoothie or two to work, because I'm really not that hungry at work during the night. And at the end of the day, I'm only at 1,200 calories, so it's a big, big thing for me, is eating enough, sleeping enough, and just trying to get a more natural lifestyle. Another thing for me is just being busy with family life, and I don't know, I could probably sum this whole video up in two things, and that would be not eating enough and not getting enough sleep. Because I drink a lot of water. For me personally, I drink a lot of water, but it's come to a point where my metabolism has slowed down quite a bit. A lot of it could be thyroid related, and so I don't get hungry a lot. So if you don't get hungry a lot, you don't get those cues. You can get busy. With me having 4 children, I get busy all the time, and half the time I forget to eat. And sometimes I'm cooking, so number 3 would be just smelling cooked food, I think. For me, my kids are not 100% raw. I'm definitely striving to get there with them, introducing more and more raw foods. It was become apparent to me that forcing them and pushing it on them, they're kind of like pushing back away. They want it to be their choice. So I realized I need to kind of lighten up a little bit and be a little less aggressive about, you have to eat this. So the other day I actually gave them, I told them, I said, they don't love bananas. And I think that they're great. They're quick, they're easy, they're nutritious. And so I said, you guys have to eat this banana, but I knew what they would do. I knew that they would seek something else. So they said, well, Mom, can we have watermelon instead? It's a win-win as far as I'm concerned, because if they choose, you know, what they want, so they're happy eating it, and it's still raw food, it's still fruit, it's still really healthy for them. So I've definitely learned some tricks and tips along the way, just trying to get my kids more willing to go for the raw foods versus the heavier foods. But yeah, there's quite a few times where I'm cooking, and I would say probably the #1 trigger food for me, if I was to eat cooked food, it would probably be beans. And I think that I'm drawn to that food mainly because it's a protein source, and so I'm seeking those you know, more dense calories, especially when I don't eat enough. And I cook beans a lot for them because they're vegetarian, and so they ask for beans a lot. And I like the smell, I like the texture, I like the taste. So beans is probably the #1 food for me that I have a hard time with, beans and rice, really, because I don't know, I personally think I'm a good cook, so I cook them very well, and they're very tasty. So when I'm not, like, because I was, and this is a whole other video, but I tried a lot of different things. I tried the raw tail dinner, I tried certain things along the way, and for me personally, I would eat beans and rice with like some corn chips or something at dinner, so I'd have like fruit all day, and then I would eat like beans and rice. And so, but for me, I found that shortly on that lifestyle, I didn't feel as good, I didn't feel as vibrant, as energetic, I felt more weighed down, you know, physically and spiritually. You know, so for me, my ideal really is 100% raw 100% of the time. But again, the question was, you know, what tempts me from living my ideal? And these are some things. Also the programming, you know, deprogramming what is so ingrained in us is very difficult. So the programming, just with, you know, with the commercials, because we don't have cable TV or anything like that, but even on YouTube, you know, there's commercials. And so a lot of that flash, you know, programming does affect you. So it's more a mind trick than anything about, I'm not going to run out and get a cheeseburger, there's no way that I'm eating meat whatsoever. And so for me, having that strictness, I will allow myself some cooked food from time to time just because I know what I'm absolutely not going to do. So having some kind of backup is really important for me. And for me, that is something like beans and rice, or maybe, you know, like a light stir fry, or even like a really warm soup. That's kind of a compromise for me. I can give my body something that's craving a little bit more of those warm foods and that comfort food that we know and that we're comfortable with, without having to go way off the deep end, which I haven't done in a very, very long time. I would say also, like, temptation from others is kind of more of a mind thing. I'm kind of so far into it now where it doesn't really tempt me, but it's still like, I wouldn't say meat looks good or burgers look good or what other people are eating look good, but if I'm hungry enough, it can smell good because, you know, we are human in nature, and some of those things, especially if you're, you know, nutrient deprived or you don't eat enough, those things can really kind of try to draw you in. So temptation from others isn't really big for me, but it's still one of those things that is kind of hard to overcome. Even now, just because if I let myself get hungry enough, the temptation is definitely a bit stronger. Also, as I have had some issues with emotional eating, that is a huge one for me. Just not using food as a crutch. So yeah, it's got a lot of feel-good properties, you know, it's got a lot of chemicals and a lot of addiction factors and a lot of the feel-good. And so trying to deal with my emotions from my past traumas without using food is a big one for me. And so, do I still use food to kind of numb those feelings? I'd say yes, but I do try to do it with raw foods. At least it's a step in the right direction of healing. It can't happen overnight. Definitely is something that I'm working on, but if anybody says there's no such thing as emotional eating, you're just emotional eating because you're, you know, nutrient deprived or undercarved or what have you, they really have not truly suffered themselves with it, because for about 10 years I turned to food as an addiction. I would eat and eat and eat until I was numb. All those feelings are numbed. And being on raw foods, you know, all those things resurface that you've been trying to bury for so long. So it is a big temptation to eat, so I emotionally suppress some of those negative feelings, sadness, hurt, guilt, you know, what have you. It is very one that I have really been working on, but one of the ones that is a little bit harder to overcome for me, just because I've had so many years of it, and it's so quick and easy and accessible, and yeah, so I definitely didn't want to make this video too terribly long, but I do want to give enough information from my perspective in trying to, you know, I have a large family and nobody is really living like I would like to live, and so lack of support is another huge one for me, is just lack of support, and that's why I originally started doing videos, just to kind of gain support, because I have none. I felt like I have no support at home. You know, my children's father is definitely into his sad diet, you know, with a whole host of health issues, and I'm more trying to get on the healing path. And so a lot of the things I've talked about with temptations is really kind of just comes in and I deal with it and I let it go, because ultimately it's not worth being sick for or feeling bad for. And now that I have had my fair share of ups and downs, it is a lot easier for me to say no, because I know how I will feel afterwards. Even with the beans and rice, I do not feel my ideal. So the cleaner that I've gotten, the more effects I feel from some of the foods that are not my ideal. So I just kind of remember that if for some reason meat smells good to me, or cooked food, I remember, how is this going to make me feel? It might taste good or it might not taste good, because my tastes have changed so much, but in the moment, but the long-term effects are far worse, and they far outweigh any instant gratification that I may get from making a choice that is not living my ideal. So I think that pretty much sums it up for the most part. Definitely the biggest ones for me, again, are not eating enough, not sleeping enough. Even if I don't drink enough water, again, I feel extra hungry. And definitely the emotional eating, and then the other ones that I touched on. So hopefully this video is helpful to the person that asked the question and everybody else. And what keeps you from living your ideal? What tempts you off this lifestyle? Are you trying to live a raw food lifestyle? Are you interested in it? Have you felt the benefits from it, that you know that this is truly what is meant for your body? What tempts you from living your ideal in general? Because honestly, through experience for me, it's really been helpful to have some of those downs to really appreciate the ups. So I hope everybody has gotten something from this video and it's not too terribly long. And if you have any other video requests, please leave them below, because I'm going to definitely put my heart and soul into making as many videos as possible, as I really learn a lot from myself and following my own personal journey as well. So everybody take care, and you'll see me soon.